In a world that is filled with filters and masks, we want to give you an unfiltered experience. Welcome to Soté.
Yes, Salt of the Earth podcast, a Christian podcast where we teach you how to apply the Word of God with wisdom into your everyday lives. If you're ready to take off the filters and learn how to be the salt of the earth, stay tuned to Soté. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soté Podcast. So, tell me, how are you? I'm doing great, Tommy. How are you doing? I feel very bright, even though I'm just wearing white. Ooh, does that rhyme? Okay.
Maybe we should drop a soundtrack.
No, I was really surprised with myself with that bar. Yeah.
That's good.
Are you going to give me a bar, too?
No. I think I'm out of it today.
You're looking dark. You're feeling a little lark.
It's not even a word. Lark.
I mean, last time you gave me a new word. I was just trying to be original.
Yeah,
it might be a word.
It might be a word.
Like, if it wasn't a word, how would you define the word lark?
Lark. I don't know. Lark. Lackadaisical. That's what I'm thinking of.
What does that mean?
I think lackadaisical just means tired.
Tired.
But without the R. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me see. Lackadaisical. I don't know why. I have this thing where whenever I hear a new word,
yeah,
I just have to.
You gotta know what it means.
Gotta know what it means.
Yeah.
Lackadaisical. Life, spirit, or zest. Lacking life. So yeah,
lacking life.
Tired. Yeah.
Look up lark. Is lark a word?
Basically how I am now.
Yeah.
I'm feeling lackadaisical. Oh, lark is actually a word.
Hey, give me some props. Look at me.
Wow. It says any of a family of chiefly old world, ground-dwelling songbirds that are usually brownish in color. So you basically said I'm a bird.
I mean, you got brown on, so you know, looking brown, you know.
You know, there are actually different definitions. So there's another definition that says to engage in harmless fun or mischief, often used with about. So I'm larking about. Yeah, I guess.
I tried.
You tried. It's okay. It's okay.
But we're not talking about being like today. Today, what are we?
We kind of are talking about larking to engage in harmless fun.
Yeah, we can stretch it.
That's my bar.
That's your bar.
I tried my best.
So you want to tell the people what we're talking about today?
Yeah, basically we're just talking about red flags, green flags, and all the flags in dating.
Ooh, yellow flags. I don't even know what a yellow flag would be.
Yeah, I mean, yellow flag would, I guess, using soccer as an analogy is the caution, exactly, the caution you see before the red flags. The caution you ignore, because we always ignore those flags, and then when it's all said and done, we're like,
it becomes a red one.
I should have known why I saw that.
You know, I mean, sometimes the red flags just look like pink flags, and you're like, maybe I should just keep going.
So I don't totally believe that. Yes, people grow. The hope is that people would grow. And when I mean grow vertically to become better versions of themselves.
Right.
But I feel like what we call red flags, which are like the core things that go against, I guess, maybe our values or our preferences, we do see those things. Yeah. But we just choose to ignore them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing is, which is kind of a red flag in itself, is sometimes the reason we don't see those things is because we rush into things. Yeah. And so you might not know that that person has this certain red flag. Yeah. Because you also have the red flag of being impatient. And so it's like, if you're not patient enough to...
Yeah, I was going to mention that,
to know that person, then you don't even find out that they have this red flag. And then it's like, down the line, you're like, oh man, I didn't see that coming. Right. But if you probably were just patient and didn't just get engaged or get married or start dating that person like 2 weeks after, like obviously if you met someone 2 weeks ago and then you start dating like by the third week,
it's a little fast.
Yeah.
So like, I was even gonna say, like, isn't it low-key a red flag if you prejudge somebody by their red flags? Like, for example, like, you don't give somebody enough chance, like that 2 week window, you're like, oh, you know, this person's done this and this, and it might be like they just had an off day, and you're like, oh no, that's a red flag. I'm not even gonna look at them. So like, could that in a way be a red flag if you're impatient in the sense like you're not giving people the grace to
I think
prove themselves.
One, it could be a red flag because if it's like a continuous thing that happens with every person you meet, then you probably need to check yourself and say, okay, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And it could be that, okay, you're not patient enough to allow people be human,
right?
Because then you also forget that you're also a human being that has flaws. Now that doesn't mean that if those flaws go against your core values, which I guess I will expound on, that doesn't mean that you just compromise in that area.
Right.
But understanding that everybody's a human being, let's say, and the thing is, it could be really petty things that we sometimes term as red flags. It could just be preferences that we have, and that we want other people to also have. But we're all different human beings. We come from different backgrounds, cultures, and different things. And so I think if that's like a continuous thing in your life, you also have to check yourself and be like, okay, am I being too impatient with people?
Right.
And then am I giving people enough grace to actually be human?
Right.
Because the way you're so picky about something or about things in people is the way other people could be picky about things in you too, because you will never meet anyone who likes every single thing about you. They might. Now that's where love comes into play, is understanding that, okay, this person has certain flaws, but I still love them selflessly, regardless of those flaws that they have. I mean, it would be good if they could work on them and we could grow together as two individuals becoming one, but even if they decide not to grow in that area, right, I think I'm good with them.
Right. That's actually a really good gauge, So let's get into this list of stuff. Okay, so I will put a disclaimer. I would say, like, the baseline, we have to be a believer already. So, like, it's not even like, oh, that's on the red flag list, at least for me. Like, you're just not going to get my attention if you're already not a believer. So there's no point in like, oh, let me see further what your red flags are if on the baseline you don't even know God. And then let's say like you do know God and like you believe in him and stuff. Okay, but like, do you actually practice what you believe? So for me, like, those are things that are like automatic yes or no. Like if it's like Tinder, swipe left or right. Not that I'm on Tinder, sorry. People, let me clarify that.
Is it bad to be on Tinder?
Okay.
I'll let you finish your training.
Put me on the spot on that one. Oh
no. I mean, it's just we're having a conversation.
It's fine. It's okay.
After this, we talk about dating.
I walked into that one.
Since we're talking about dating, I mean, we live in a world where dating apps are prevalent around, the society.
Yeah, it's pretty normalized, right?
And so, yes, we talk about things changing and we're evolving. We also need to understand that we're in totally different times from our parents and even our forefathers and whatever. And so we can also speak on dating apps.
Of course.
Because we have Christians out here who genuinely want to date people. Like, they want to meet people. And
I would hope they want to date people.
I mean, people are out here looking.
I'm just messing with
people are looking for the bone of their bones,
right? The flesh of their flesh.
Some people are, and that's one option. It's just, is there a way to do it right? That's the thing.
Right.
But I'll let you finish.
Yeah, so that's like maybe like down the line. We'll get into that one. But yeah, so like for me, that's the baseline. Like if I'm not like for sure like can see the fruit, the verse that talks about how like you would know them by their fruit. Like if I can't like, see that in you, like you're walking in the spirit, you're, actively trying to get closer to God, then there's no business me even like gauging it. Oh, red flag, green flag, it don't matter because you don't know my God. Like, so that's like a baseline. So if I don't say anything about like, oh, he's a believer or not, that's because like that's already from the beginning, from the jump. So like now I'm talking about people who are believers, who are walking in the spirit, who are striving to like, be like God and all that stuff. Like what else am I looking for in that person to really know like, oh, this is somebody that I could see, myself with, or like this is somebody I want to continue further with, or this is where I take a pause. So I'm going to start with I take a pause part.
So red flags.
The red flags.
Dun, dun.
Okay, so I said all of that to just completely go against what I just said because there's actually.
No, I'm listening.
No, okay, I actually have a situation.
Okay.
That, like, I would say, like, it would go back to, like, what we were saying earlier of, like, that could have low-key been me being a red flag, but I feel like I was justified in cutting it off from the jump because I just felt like, I mean, it could be me judging, but I felt like from that conversation, there's no way that that person could possibly also, you know, be living by the fruit, really be a true believer just because of the way he initiated the conversation. Okay, so, like, let me tell the story now. Okay. So, like, I was on the way to, like, go somewhere, and I stopped at this intersection, and right next to me, this guy, like, pulls up in his car, and, like, he's, like, motioning, like, oh, like, wind down, wind down. So, I don't know what's going on. Like, so I wind down, and then he's basically like, hey, you got a boyfriend? And I was like, oh, no, not this. And so, like, I didn't want to be rude and be like, boy, bye, and, like, wind up and just drive away. So, because, like, I'm trying to live by the fruit and be kind and be gentle and everything. So, like, I was just like, oh, no, thank you, thinking he will get the message, like, I'm just not interested in engaging this conversation. And I feel like I'm not just going to tell a random stranger my relationship status. So I wasn't going to be like, yeah, I'm single, you know, and then he'll feel like that's room for him to, like, continue the conversation. And so, like, I just kept saying, like, oh, no, thank you, no, thank you. And he just kept asking, like, oh, like, you have really nice complexion, and you look really nice. And I'm just like, we're at an intersection. I'm trying to get into the road and go where I'm trying to go. Like, why are we having a whole conversation about how you think I'm, you know, beautiful or whatever? And so I feel like, in a way, I could have been the one in the wrong being like, oh, and then at the end of it all, like, he just wasn't going to stop. Like, I just kept saying, no, thank you, and he didn't stop. And I just wound up my window and then drove away. So, like, how I feel like I could possibly have been, like, the red flag. Like, I didn't give that person a chance to, like, prove themselves or, like, you know, further give him room to, like, show his character. But I feel like, to me, if a guy's just coming up to me and the only reason why you want to get to know me better is because you find me attractive, then that means that you don't see me as substance, you just see me as an object. Like, that's just my perception, when a guy's just like, oh, I think you're so beautiful and you're so attractive, and, like, that's the reason why you want to get to know me better. It's not like, oh, wow, like, you know, I truly see you as, like, a really good woman of God, and, like, I really like how you interpret scripture, or I really like, you know, your prayer life, or I really like how you serve in the church. Like, obviously this guy doesn't know anything about me, and so, like, how can you, like, want to get to know me better just because I look attractive? Like, you don't know if I'm crazy. You don't know if I got, like, you know, stuff going on in my life. So, but then to be fair to him, it's like, you probably never see me again. But at the same time, maybe that's just a cue, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't engage in this. But I don't know. You tell me. But, you diagnose me.
What? That was funny. Anyways.
Dr. Tummy. I feel like it's a therapy session now. I mean, as a guy, like, I feel like you kind of have a better viewpoint from his side.
I could be unaware. Oh, God. Anyways, okay, so if we're being honest, I don't think it's... So there are multiple things.
Yeah.
It's not a red flag on your part being that, okay, first off, I don't even know this person.
Right, yeah.
And so it's like, we live in a dangerous world.
Right, exactly,
right?
Yeah.
But then he could have, I mean, approached you in a better way. Yeah, I mean, it's given that you guys were in your vehicles or cars.
Yeah.
And he could have been creative about it, I guess, if I would say that. I don't know
how... How would you say he could have done that better?
Maybe not be like, you got a boyfriend?
Yeah, that was kind of like, yeah.
I don't even know, plus who...
Who does that?
Who does? The intersection where you guys are driving. It's like you're meant to be focusing on the road.
That's what I said. So I'm like, if you're focusing on me, clearly you're not focusing on God. Because how did you easily get so distracted?
But
so
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if there was a better way to have done it. Because in his mind, he was probably thinking, oh, wow, this is someone... I mean, and if we're being honest, I know, yes, as Christians, we go beyond just the physical attraction. But you actually... I don't want to say you actually have to be attracted, but that is also...
attraction is important.
Yeah, it's also important, right? Yeah. Before you even know if the person is a godly woman or...
Okay, I don't know about that.
No. But before you know before you could see or, I guess, evaluate someone's character, the first thing you see is their appearance.
Yeah.
As human beings, that's the first thing we use to judge people, which is why we preach modesty, which is why we preach, you know...
Yeah.
not modesty in the sense that, okay, you shouldn't even just wear short skirts or whatever, or you shouldn't be out here bare chested as a man or whatever. But also like how you carry yourself as a human being, right, in certain spaces, right? And
but sorry to interrupt you, but to that point, like why I say like it's not like the first thing, like I would engage whether I'm friends with somebody because they're attractive or want to get to know somebody further because I find them attractive or not. And so like I can start off a friendship like being like, oh, I'm not necessarily attracted to this person, but because I got to know that person better, that attraction grew because of that like character buildup. So for me, at least from on my perspective, like that's what matters more to me. And so like if I know somebody like originally is interested in getting to know me better because they found me attractive, then I feel like we're not starting on a good playing field, because it's not a stance of substance. It's just like, oh, you're attractive, so automatically you must be a good person. So I'll get to know your character better. And then if it's not good, then okay, then I'll hop to the next person. And then it just feels like Tinder. Like it just feels like I'm just swiping left and right, but in real life. And it's like, okay, like, what about me made you want to get more interest? You know, I'm just going in.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I mean, I understand that, but the answer to your question, what about me made you more interested in me? It depends really on the space.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, majority of that is from you looking at the person and you, because attraction is very subjective, right?
Yeah.
Whoever, I could be attracted to someone, but then 500 other people could be like, I mean, that person is okay or that person is all right. And so it's really subjective. And so, yes, there's that physical appeal that, okay, not in a lustful way that, oh, this person is pretty and then I just want to, I guess, be lustful or lust after her. But it's like there's something that draws you to that person and you're like, and majority of the times is the physical features that the person has, like, oh, wow, she has a nice smile. She has whatever. And then you're interested in the person and then you want to know more about that person. Then you start to judge their character, and if their character isn't good, then it's so funny how sometimes if the person's character isn't good, then you could even sometimes not be attracted to the person again, which says a whole lot about character and not just beauty. Yeah, beauty is fleeting sometimes, and character is what really gives you substance.
Right.
And so, yeah, we need to get to know that person's character, but majority of the times we're visual beings, right? We can see people.
Yeah.
So what draws you? And sometimes it could even be their character, which also depends on the space, right? You could be at a conference and I could be at a conference now and I see you talking and I'm like, oh, wow, I like the way she carries herself. I like the way she speaks. And
but that's different.
Yeah, so that's why I said, why I said it depends. It depends on the setting,
I guess.
But then the thing is, majority of the times we're always in a setting, or don't even say majority, but more than often we're always in a setting where the first thing we see about that person is their appearance and how they look. And so, you know.
Yeah. So you're defending him?
No, I'm not defending him. Obviously, the way he approached,
it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad because I mean, who rolls down the window? I'm like, hey, you got a boyfriend?
Yeah, like it threw me off.
Yeah, I'm actually defending you in a way that it's not a red flag on your part.
Yeah, like safety wise.
Yeah, safety wise. That's you don't know the person. Yeah. I'm just saying that maybe he could have approached it. I'm just trying to understand where he was coming from. That okay, maybe this is somebody that I find attractive and oh well, I would want to get to know her. Yeah. But he was just shooting his shots.
It failed badly.
Terribly.
It failed badly. Yeah. So yeah, like I guess like that's my thing. Yeah. Of like, for me, like what matters more to me, like even if you like, I guess like what I could say to that point is like, even if you see me first and you find me attractive, like don't even tell me, like wait until like you have like other things to say, like, oh, like, you know, I really like how you talk about this, or like we have common interests or something going on before you approach me, because to me then I have something to go off of. Because if you just tell me I'm attractive, like, okay, then what else does the conversation go to? Like, well, and then it puts pressure on me, like, okay, do I always gotta look attractive for you, or like you're gonna lose interest, like, you know? So so like I feel like you don't have to tell the person right away either.
I think he also so all of this go back to the setting. It will be different if the person sees you every time, right? Maybe like we go to the same church. Yeah. And also, ladies need to understand that it's hard out here for guys.
It's hard for the ladies too. Don't even go there.
I understand. Maybe the guy is the one going after the lady. Yeah. But some ladies don't always make it comfortable because it's already enough of itself for you to summon up the courage to go speak to someone.
Yeah.
And then some people are just like giving you one word replies like, okay, nice, and like you can't even build up and have a conversation, and then it just makes it awkward, and then in your mind, and then you go out and you're like, yeah, he's boring or whatever. It's like, but you're also boring.
Oh.
So, but the thing is, I guess it depends on the setting again. If maybe you guys see each other often, maybe the first thing he may say to you may not be, oh, you look beautiful. But if that's the first time he's seen you, usually I guess not speaking for every man, but why a man may say that is because sometimes he doesn't even know what to say, and that's a truth statement that he's saying, is that you are beautiful to him. And also, I guess a compliment kind of has his way on breaking the ice, you know, between two strangers.
Right.
And so, I don't know.
I wouldn't say compliments are bad. Like, I'm not saying don't compliment. Y'all can compliment me. It's okay. Don't feel nervous to compliment me. But I guess, like, just to wrap up that one point, we've been on this point for a long time, but just to wrap up this, like, one point, is just to say, like, from a biblical perspective, I feel like it's not something where, like, the world is where, like, oh, you just keep going on dates and there's no, like, end in sight. You just like the attention and you just want the attention. So, like, if you're truly approaching somebody, like, I feel like it should come from a point of, like, oh, I want to get to know you better as a friend, and then from there, you know, I'll pray about it, and, like, God would kind of guide me more if this is a relationship that he wants me to be in. And I feel like that's healthier than trying to, like, just find the prettiest girl in the room and try to make a connection that way, or try to find the prettiest guy, not prettiest, but most handsome guy in the room and try to make a connection there. So I think that's what I'm trying to get at, is that don't have such, shallow mindset when you are, like, you know, you feel like you're at the age where you really want to settle down and you really want to get to that point. Because, like you said, beauty is fleeting. Like, if that woman or that man doesn't have much character, and you're just holding on to that fact that, like, oh, but this person is so beautiful, this person is so handsome, I'm never going to find somebody as handsome or as beautiful as this person, then you're not going in with the right mindset. And that's only going to lead you down a path of destruction, because, like, the more and more you spend time with this person, the more and more you're going to get closer to them, and then you're going to start ignoring the red flags, and it just gets messy. And so, like, I would stick with my point of just, like, like, you can find somebody attractive, but, like, be creative. Find something to talk about. Be like, oh, the weather is really nice. Yeah, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do agree with you. I don't think that should be the basis of their attractiveness or their beauty or them being handsome shouldn't be, like, the all, I guess, what defines that relationship. It shouldn't, it could be what attracts you to them, but also you have to go beyond just that. So I do agree with you, to be honest. It would be bad for you to just have that shallow mindset that, okay, I'm only going to entertain, or I'm only going to pursue this person or every woman that is the most beautiful or whatever. And sometimes beauty is also subjective. Right. So just, I guess, have the wisdom to be kind and gracious to different people, and try and build a friendship first. If that's what, because even before dating, you still have to build that friendship. I feel like it's healthy. The healthy way is to build a friendship. And so
without that foundation, like, there's just there's no structure. And, like, I would say something controversial, because every time I say this, people are like, what? That's crazy. Okay. So, like, my mindset, I don't believe in dating, because, like, I feel like it's not in the Bible.
You don't believe in dating?
Yeah. So let's get into it, right? So, like, for me, I don't believe in that time frame of dating. Like, for me, it's like, okay, I can get to know you as a friend and literally do the same things that I would have done in a dating sense, because I already don't believe in, like, sex before marriage and all those things. So, like, those are the kind of things that kind of define a dating relationship for the most part, like, that intimate moments. And so if I'm already cutting that out, for me, it's like, okay, then this is just somebody that I end up marrying my best friend, that I'm marrying somebody that I dated. And then I don't want a pattern of, like, oh, I've dated, like, how many people in my past, and, like, I'm comparing each new person to the last person. So I like the perspective of just, like, I'm becoming somebody's friend, and then from there we're like, okay, like, you're somebody that I strongly, you know, want in my life past the friendship point, and then at that point, why don't I just get married?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just think no, I do agree with you. I just think the reason is because of how society has defined dating. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
for a lot of people, dating isn't dating if you take away sex,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know, but I do agree.
Yeah.
I do see
And
where you're coming from.
I guess I should clarify too. Like, I believe in courtship than
Yeah,
dating, because I feel like
yeah.
courtship is more intentional, and dating is more like, oh, if I'm just not
Or
feeling
just
it
playing
anymore,
around.
like I can date you for 6 years and be like, you know what, nah,
Yeah,
I'm good.
yeah.
But courtship is like, okay, like I'm actually serious. Like there's an end goal. There's a place that this is going to. So like, I feel like I believe that in that pattern more than like, oh, this is just my boyfriend or whatever. And so I'm just gonna be dating you for no particular amount of time. It's just like whenever we feel like making it official in a sense of marriage, then we'll make it official. But I don't want to be strung along like that, and I wouldn't want somebody else to feel strung along like that. So.
I think society nowadays has just done a bad job because even dating means there are so many definitions of dating. It's like for some people, dating around is just having that. I guess scouting around is what I would say. Having because some people don't see a problem in dating around in the sense that they're talking to multiple people at a time. And then they are trying to pick the best man or best woman. Or whatever. Whereas I think the way the Bible puts it is courtship, like you said, is okay. Yeah, you're speaking to someone and you're getting to know that person as a human being or as even a friend. Before then becoming intentional in the sense that you're saying, okay, yeah, I want to spend I think or I believe that I want to spend the rest of my life with you and blah blah blah. Then you guys actually court, not in secret, but not in the open also where like everybody knows your business. But also there are healthy ways to set boundaries. Because as Christians, I mean, one of the things or the values that we have or we should have is abstinence or I guess celibacy or whatever. Not having sex before marriage. And there's a way dating in a small niche or community helps to keep those values because then you're accountable to people who are most likely older than you and then they're able to check up on both of you, from time to time and like how is it going, and that way you can also get advice and get wisdom from people who have experienced the same things that you're also experiencing right now. And so I think the healthy way or the way the Bible teaches is being friends, then going into courtship and then getting married to the person. But sometimes we also live in a world where, life is hard, life is complex. Although that would be the ideal way, but people go through different experiences and it's tough. So we have to also understand the fact that we are dealing with human beings here and human beings can be deceptive, human beings could be wicked at times. And so some people actually have it hard out here. It's hard out here in the streets, man.
Can't relate, but yeah.
But I think one thing I also wanted to talk about, since we're talking about red flags, we've talked about, the number one major red flag as a Christian is if the person isn't a believer. Right. And I think to even go beyond that, I think another red flag is if that supposed person is making you a bridge for their faith. And what I mean by that is sometimes you get into situations where it's like, okay, you meet this person that's really good, is handsome, is all of the things you want in a man, or all of the things you want in a woman, is kind, is patient. But then, one, they may not be a believer, or two, they may be a, just shallow believer, Sunday to Sunday believer. And then you and that, or even that person, and to go back to that statement, making you a bridge to their faith is if you are not in their life, then they wouldn't take their relationship with God so serious. So that's what I mean by saying that person is making you a bridge to their faith. And so their desire for Jesus comes from the desire to please you or to make you happy. And it's like, okay, the only time they're ever going to read their Bible or go to church or is when you have Bible study with them, and they are not actually chasing Christ for themselves. And so I think that could be a red flag too, because sometimes, I don't want to say especially for ladies, but the experiences I've had is with ladies is like you meet a guy and then you're trying to, I guess, win him over for Christ. You're trying to do the work of the Holy Spirit. And sometimes for guys too, it could be the opposite, where you meet a lady that you like and then you're trying to be the Holy Spirit and trying to draw that person to Christ. The only thing you could do is minister the gospel and actually live the gospel and let your life be a reflection of what the gospel is. But you really can never that person still has the choice of choosing to want to know Christ for themselves.
Right.
And so there could be a very thin line in when that person is making you that bridge.
Yes.
And so you have to notice, you have to be careful, and you have to have discernment to notice that, okay, is this person really after Christ for themselves, or is it just because I'm in their life?
Right.
And I think that's a good, when you do notice that kind of thing, it's a good time to, I guess, take a step back. Yes. And let that, because you're also doing that person a disservice.
Right.
Because the person should be knowing Christ for themselves, should be growing to be 100% whole for themselves. Because ultimately, you're doing the person a disservice, being that you're trying to cut the process short for them. You're not allowing them to grow fully to who Christ wants them to be. And in the long run, it's going to not just affect you, but it's going to not just affect that person, but it will also trickle down to you if you guys end up having a family or being in a relationship.
Right.
So I think sometimes for ladies, you guys just have to be patient enough sometimes to, well, not just ladies, but both parties.
Right, both, yeah.
As a guy and as a lady, we have to be patient enough to allow the supposed person that we want to be with, we have to be patient enough to allow them grow to I guess, a place where they're whole.
Yes.
By themselves, and they're whole in the sense that, they are not depending on you to draw. You are not the bridge that draws them closer to God, just so I don't confuse people. And so that person has to be whole enough for themselves, confident in God, standing right in God. That doesn't mean that they won't have flaws or they won't sin, but that way you're not the bridge that ties them to Jesus.
Right.
They are the ones that want to be with Jesus.
Right. Yeah. That was really good. That was really good. Look at you. We went from light to bright. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm just...
But to add to that, I would also say, like, coming from a woman's perspective, like, a man is meant to lead. And so if you as a woman kind of is more spiritually stronger than the man, that's going to definitely affect the relationship. Like, if you're the one prompting him to pray, if you're the one asking him, have you read your Bible? If you're the one asking him, hey, can we have Bible study today? In the marriage, he's not going to know how to lead the family as well. And, there's a reason why God said that the man is the head of the household. There's a reason why God said, that the man should lead, his family. And so if he doesn't know how to do that naturally for himself, like he doesn't know how to be disciplined in reading his word and reading his Bible, doing both of the same thing, and reading God's word, and praying and all that kind of stuff, fasting, like there's so much that comes, as you grow in your relationship with God. If he just doesn't know those like basic blueprints, and that kind of goes to what I was saying earlier, like if he's not living in the spirit, I'm just not interested, because it's gonna trickle down to affecting my relationship with God, and I don't want somebody coming into my life to mess up my relationship with God. Like that's just not the formula that I want to follow.
Yeah. And
like another thing that I heard from Mike Todd, the pastor like Transformation Church, he was like, ladies who are single, be careful and don't go after a guy who doesn't know how to get in God's presence, because he's not going to know how to treat you right. Because like if he's not hearing from God, then who's he hearing from in order to like treat you correctly, in order to how to be the right husband in the future and all of those things. And so for me, that's like a big blueprint for me. Is like, if you aren't hearing from God, if you don't know how to have that, I'm not saying that you have to be perfect and like never sin or anything, but it's really important to like have that strong foundation in God by yourself. And I'm just coming in as an extra person. I'm not coming in to fill in the gaps that you have. Instead, I'm just bringing forth what I know, and you're bringing forth what you know. And, like a good template, to know a healthy relationship is if you're going closer to God and he's going closer to God, together you grow closer to each other. And so if he's growing farther from God, eventually you're going to grow further from God as well. And so that's something that's very, very important. And as a believer, you just have to make that a priority. And so that's why I'm so strong on like attraction. That is important. It's important, but it's not as important. Like if you're attractive but you don't know God, I'm sorry, it's not gonna work. I don't care how attractive you are or how attractive you think I am, because down the line I'm still gonna be weeping about you. You not knowing certain things or not doing certain things. I'm not gonna remember, oh, he's attractive. I'm just gonna remember he has all these red flags and it's stressing my life out. So for anybody who's like struggling with that, I'm just like, oh, but I really want somebody who's attractive. Understand that God knows your desires. He knows what you like. He knows what you don't like. He will bring you the right person, but he'll also bring it at the right time and with the right values too. So
that's really good. I think you pointed to something, and I really want to talk about this. Maybe, I don't know, this might be how we end, because I think we're
oh wow, we got through like 2 points.
Yeah, but it's cool. But I think it's a major one, because you pointed to, you said something about men should be leaders, and you said something that a pastor said, that don't be with a man that doesn't know how to get to the presence of God. And I think that's very important. But what I wanted to talk about was submission, because I think we're living in a society that word is just, it's like
that's a red flag for some people.
Everything you open nowadays is just, if I'm on YouTube, it's submission. If I'm on, and so many people are talking about it, like even in the Christian and the secular space.
Yeah.
And I think being able to hash that out, what submission actually means for both parties, not just for the woman. Because we always, and it's so crazy, because the world is always emphasizing on submission for the woman.
Yes.
But I think Christianity and Christ teaches submission for both parties.
Yes.
Because first off, both parties should even be in submission to one person already.
Yes.
Both parties should be in submission to Jesus Christ already.
Right.
And so when the Bible teaches in the New Testament, when it says that wives, first off, submission, the condition is marriage.
Right.
The Bible doesn't say every woman should submit. It doesn't say every man. And I think that's where the problem comes, is because, and that's why sometimes people are against Christianity. First off, is on their part, because they don't even take time to read the Bible to know that the Bible doesn't say that submit to every single person.
Yeah.
The only rule is submit to your husband,
who has to even be godly too.
Who has to be godly too. So even before you get to the point of submission, is you shouldn't even be in a marriage to someone who you don't think you would submit to.
Exactly.
Which goes back to us talking about courtship and dating and all these red flags.
Exactly.
And so if you think you're going to have a problem submitting to that person, then you shouldn't even be getting married to that person. And I think that's what the problem is people overlook some of all of these red flags, and they don't think about the commitment of marriage and what it takes. And it's like we're living in the moment, we're enjoying all of this, wonderful romantic things, but then it takes more than all of those things, to build a family and to build a strong and lasting relationship.
Right.
And I think I'll speak on, submission on both parts. Yes. Right. I think a red flag, one, from to a lady, for a man, is when he doesn't even understand the concept of godly submission.
Yes.
Because for some men these days, nowadays, you have all of this alpha male, people just it's so funny. People are trying to be alpha male and whatever.
Macho,
macho. And then there's this idea that, both of us are the prize. But there's this idea that, if a woman doesn't just submit to every single thing you say, then she's a bad person, or she's, I guess, a quote unquote, she can't be a good wife. But sometimes that desire for, let me put it this way. When God created Adam and Eve in the Bible, he gave both of them dominion. Now, what the devil is trying to do is, I think the devil is trying to corrupt the minds of men, in the sense that he's trying to, he wants men to think that it's okay for us to have dominion over a woman. Yeah. Now, the Bible never gave man dominion over a woman.
Right.
He gave man over and woman dominion over the whole of the earth. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But because God is a God of structure, and God is a God of order, and God is organized, there is a level of authority that he has handed over to the man.
Yes.
And we can see that when both of them sinned, he never called Eve. He called Adam, because he gave Adam the responsibility to run his family.
Yeah.
He said, okay, I've created both of you in my image, in my likeness. You all share the same essence. You are equal in every sense.
Yeah.
But when it comes to reporting to me as a family and as a unit, you are the one that I have given that position. And here's a good example of what it means. Right. I work as an engineer, right?
Yeah.
I have supervisors that are over me.
Right.
Let's say I work, don't even let me use myself as an example. Let's say maybe I work in a store in Walmart now. Yeah. And I'm like the top employee. I'm the best employee. Like I make sure that people buy stuff, the sales, or let's say I work in the sales department, and I'm very good at selling stuff. Right. And because whenever I work, maybe we make sales of about $20,000 per day.
Yes.
And then let's say my supervisor gives me and this comes about, and where I'm trying to get at is the issue of, because sometimes there's this discussion of, okay, well, some men aren't just naturally leaders. They don't, and then what do we do when the spouse is the one who, is the go-getter, is the one that is more driven and is not laid back?
Yes.
And so that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
And so let's say my supervisor recognizes my strength in that I'm able to make the most sales.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the relationship is for the benefit of both of us.
Yes.
Because the more sales that I make, the more customers we get and the more profit we make. And at the end of the day, the employers will be happy, right? Modeling that to marriage, the more successful our marriage is, regardless of who is the one that I guess is doing, okay, don't let me say doing the most work, but regardless of who is actually at the forefront, right? The more, because at the end of the day, it's a relationship and it's a unit. That doesn't mean that submission doesn't mean that the man is going to be responsible for making every single decision or everything without actually consulting his wife. And I think that's where people that's where people get it wrong, is like they think that what submission means is, as a man, I'm going to make all of the decisions, everything. I'm the one that will do everything.
Right.
That's where people get it all wrong. But to finish my analogy is, okay, yes, now some people can come to the store and then they see me doing all of these things, making the most sales. They might think I'm the manager, right? But I'm not actually the manager. My manager has just given me the, I guess, freedom to be able to do the best that I can, or to be able, my manager has given me a space where my strengths could be worked on. Right, he recognizes that, okay, I'm the one who is the best at selling. So then, okay, let him be at the forefront, let him be selling. But the kicker is when the top manager or the district manager comes, right, regardless of the fact that I am the one making the most sales and people think that I am the manager of that store, when the district manager comes, who reports to him? Am I the one? No, I'm not the one that reports to him. It's going to be my supervisor that reports to him. And I think in that way, if that's a good example, a good analogy, in that way, yes, sometimes it may be that your supposed spouse, the lady, her strength might be in finances. She might be the one who knows how to save money, who knows how to, I guess, invest properly. Yes, as a man, you also need to be learning that, because both of you need to also be learning that. But you might also have a different strength in another area. You can cook. Yeah, that's amazing. That's true. Yeah, that's true. You can also have a different strength in different area. And yes, you work on your strengths. And in that way, I think when we both focus on our strengths, our individual strengths will help compensate our individual weaknesses. And so in that sense, your wife might be at the forefront of finance, but at the end of the day, when God calls both of you, okay, I've blessed you people with this amount of money. How did you steward it? The person that is going to be, I guess, responsible and authority to answer to God is the man, because he is the one that God has placed as head over the house. And then on the other flip side, for some women, they are just so opposed to the idea of submission. And I think that could be a red flag also for a man, because if, this is the person that I want to be, and this is submission, being that we've defined what submission truly is. It means submission, in, I guess, just to define it, is one, dying to your own selfish desires and being willing to serve the other person, like how Christ has served us. So also it could be a red flag, because for a guy, if I'm with someone, or for a Christian guy, if I'm with a godly woman that doesn't value what submission means to Christ, then that could be a red flag to me, because that could cause friction in the house, right? And it's like, okay, sometimes her reaction, or some women's reaction to submission, can be from the fact that men have done a bad job at being leaders, like even in the society and even in churches sometimes, because you hear crazy stories in churches where the so-called head pastor is involved in so many scandals. And I think that is why a lot of women are scared to actually submit, because they haven't really seen a model for what submission is. But I'll say to women is that, first off, the model for submission should be Christ himself, because God would never call us to do something that he hasn't done in himself. And so Christ was the first person to submit. He submitted to the will of the Father by giving up his, for a while, by giving up his seat at the right hand of the Father, to be in the form of a human as a slave, like the Bible says. Exactly, to be persecuted, to die the death, even the death on the cross. And so he would never call you to do something that he hasn't done in himself.
Right.
And so, yes, God is calling both of us to submit because he also has submitted to authority.
Yes.
God the Father.
Wow. Are you done?
Yeah.
I was just like,
yeah. No.
Clap.
Yeah, I know
really
I
good.
went off on a long tangent.
No, that was really good.
I think it's good to clear it out because
that's a big hot topic.
Yeah, it's really like a big thing that in the Christian space, especially with, I guess, the movement of equality and all of those things. And I'm not against all of the ideologies of. Yes, I know we've had a discussion of feminism.
Yeah, I was about to say, it reminds me of,
we had a discussion of feminism, and I'm all, like I said, a godly man will want equality for his, for women, not just even his spouse. And so, it's just finding that balance and knowing that, okay, both of us need to be in continual submission or continuous submission to each other. It's not just that the woman and it's so petty sometimes. Some men, the reason why they can say someone doesn't submit is because you want freshly cooked meal 5 times a day.
For me, I'm not your mom, so I'm gonna go back to
it's so funny because sometimes you hear some of these guys on YouTube or whatever. It's like, okay, if she doesn't cook you 3 square meals a day, then she can't submit to you. And I'm like, first off, your idea of what submission is wrong. Totally demonic.
She's not your maid.
Because people and people are coming from the place where they want to have total dominance over another human being. And you know what the Bible calls that? Witchcraft. That's literally witchcraft. And so even for me as a godly man, I wouldn't even be comfortable. Like, for me, it would be a turn off. It would be a red flag if, you just want me to have dominion over you. It's like, I want you to be my partner, to be someone that can be, oh, hey, what do you think about this? Should we do this? Not that if I say, okay, let's do this every single time, it's like, oh, whatever you want, whatever. It feels, I don't know.
Do you not have a brain up there?
It feels like you've gone through trauma. To me, it feels like you've gone through trauma and you need to work on certain things. And so,
and then you also don't want the opposite either.
You also don't want the opposite where it's like, okay, the person, it's just
everything is
just no.
But to close out a little bit, when you were talking about a leader and everything, it also helped me think of like Adam and Eve. Adam was so quick to be like, oh God, like the woman you gave me, that's why we did this, like it's all your fault. So like if a man is so easily to blame somebody else for their responsibilities, that to me is a red flag. Like if you can't take ownership of your actions, and like you were saying, like the supervisor is in charge of even his subordinates. So if the director comes in and is like, oh, why aren't we making us enough sales? He's not going to blame his subordinates directly and be like, oh, it's the subordinates that you gave me. Like, they're just not making it. So, if he, for some reason, takes up that ownership, he's going to be like, oh, yeah, as a team, we were not performing as we thought we could. We're gonna work on this and this and this, and then he can then go to his team like, hey, we need to do this and this and this, instead of from the get-go blaming the people under him.
Because sorry to cut you, because even if he does blame them, it's possible for him to blame them, but to the district manager and to the owners of the business, that's okay, he could blame them, but to them, you are a bad manager, and so in that sense, to God, Adam was just a bad manager of the home that God had given him.
Like you have to be a steward of what God has blessed you. Like, with every blessing that God gives us, it's a free gift and he can take it away at any time. And so like you were saying, like you can't have whole ownership of a wife, of your family, because that's still a gift from God and he can choose to take it away at any moment. So you have to treat it as like, wow, this is a precious gift that God has given me. I'm going to be very careful with this gift. I'm going to be very loving to this gift. I'm going to respect this gift. I'm going to be grateful for this gift. And when you can see it in that sense, it's not that you're worshiping this person like, oh my gosh, like this is the best person that God has brought into my life, but you also see them as a human and like you you know, appreciate the efforts that they're bringing into the home. It really helps to balance it out, you know, both the woman and a man, you know, seeing it from that perspective, you know.
So do you want to wrap up with green flags? Because I know we've been talking about red flags.
Yeah.
Would you just want to wrap up? I think we're like 40 minutes in, but hey.
Oh, man.
Do you want to wrap up?
I feel like we should go,
So you want to do another episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, like, it might be another 20 minutes, and then that's an hour. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean...
Yeah.
That's just, So green flags next episode.
Because we promised online dating, and we haven't even touched on that. So.
Okay. So let's that's true. So let's have another episode then.
Yeah.
Well.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks for watching this episode of Soté. And until next time,
stay tuned.
Stay tuned to Soté.
In a world that is filled with filters and masks, we want to give you an unfiltered experience. Welcome to Soté.
Yes, Salt of the Earth podcast, a Christian podcast where we teach you how to apply the Word of God with wisdom into your everyday lives. If you're ready to take off the filters and learn how to be the salt of the earth, stay tuned to Soté.